You're listening to the Surgeons of Horror podcast.
Hello, welcome to the Surgeons of Horror podcast. Its purpose is to dissect horror films, both old and new. Those familiar with the podcast series should know by now that we're dedicating this current season to the late, great Wes Craven in what I'm calling the Nightmare years. Basically, this is where we start from A Nightmare on Elm Street and end on Wes Craven's New Nightmare and everything sandwiched in between. And we're also going to delve into all of the A Nightmare on Elm Street franchise films as well, just for the pleasure. And we are about to now discuss what would be Wes Craven's 11th feature film under his name, which was called The Serpent and the Rainbow, which was released in 1988. And it was a film that was, and we get the opening kind of caption that tells us this, that it was, it is loosely based on a non-fiction book of the same name by, he was kind of like a botanist and an ethno-anthropologist, it says here, who his name was Wade Davis. And he was basically kind of sent to Haiti by a pharmaceutical company where he explored the myths of the zombie, and which included resurrection using plant-based drugs. And that was the essence of the story that Wes Craven then kind of picked up to create the film. Before we kind of go into dissecting and discussing the feature film, I should introduce myself. My name is Saul Muerte. I'm the lead surgeon for the podcast series of Surgeons of Horror. And joining me for the first time in the Wes Craven films discussions is Richard Lovegrove. Welcome aboard, Richard.
G'day. Nice to be here. Glad to be had.
It's, didn't know you'd been had.
Welcomed.
It's good to have you on board for the Wes Craven stuff. Obviously, you've been around the block a few times with us on the Surgeons team, but this is your first foray into our Wes Craven chats. So it kind of lends me to kind of just ask, before we kind of talk about this film, is what of Wes Craven did you know of, and how familiar were you of his movies before?
Well, early on, I actually went through a long stage where my sister and I would get together and we would watch a whole bunch of old horror movies. I think it was the Children of the Corn series. I watched all of those, and we used to get together and enjoy watching those. Just how lucky they were. But as part of that, the Nightmare on Elm Streets were a part of those. Going right up to the sixth one and all that sort of stuff too.
Yeah.
So, and then the New Nightmare, obviously. Scream was probably the Kickstarter and of all those things of going, this is a genre and a universe within itself. But then later on, I saw The Hills Have Eyes.
Yes, of course.
And things like that, which I loved. I loved the original Hills Have Eyes. It's terrifying, and you don't need to see everything. And then they did the remake, and you saw everything. And it was interesting, for them to go with the R rating. It's kind of the sort of thing of going. It was a bit much then, but now I wish they would do that. With some of the remakes that are going for the PG.
You want them to just kind of let them off the leash, really.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yes. Cool. Okay. So with that in mind, obviously we're about to discuss The Serpent and the Rainbow. So were you familiar with this film at all? Had you seen it before in amongst your kind of foray into the Wes Craven movies, or was this your first venture into the film before podcast?
Yeah, no. Well, we sort of really only went with the film, and if that had a sequel, but that was really, we had a very contained sort of idea. It was Grease and then Grease 2. If it had a sequel, we would find it out, especially if we enjoyed it. But it's still appreciated, single films Somewhere in Time and things like that. These sort of eclectic films that are just so beautiful in their simplicity. But no, I didn't know this film at all until you mentioned it to me. And then when I stuck it on, I noticed Bill Pullman is in it, and I love Bill Pullman.
Yeah.
And I just found out that this was his feature film, the only feature film that he did straight after Spaceballs.
I was about to say that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like
Of course, Spaceballs being Mel Brooks's parody of the whole Star Wars, Star Trek universe, and yeah, brilliant.
That's it. Yeah. Lone Star.
Lone Star. Your Schwartz is as big as mine.
Yeah, interesting though, isn't it? Though, because like obviously that's like the nth degree of campness in that film, and yet we see him in a very, very straight up kind of role in this film.
Yeah, but you see him playing pretty much the similar sort of role, because the best comedy is always played straight.
Yes, true.
Like, look at, what is it? Everyone Loves Raymond. And the mother, being the funniest part about that. But the funniest part about that is she is dead serious.
Yes.
Completely believes what she's saying, and because it's so absurd, it's even funnier. So I've actually found myself thinking that he needed to be a bit more of that Harrison Ford, sort of character in this film, because I was seeing a lot of Lone Star moments. There was a lot of the times Kelsey and I were watching the film, just turning around and saying, like, end it here, or like, do this, yelling at the screen. So, yeah, but I loved the bad guy, like, with a passion. Even from his first scene, the bad guy was awesome.
Yeah, he was like, he just channeled that role, didn't he? Like in a huge way, like.
And so simple, like, even just the scene too, like from a story point of view, a screenwriting point of view, having the torture going off in the back room, and having the other guy lounging in his chair with this half smirk on his face, just so calm.
Yeah, that's right.
Like, even we'll get into it when we get into it, but he gives him so many chances. From the perspective of what the power that he has in the area that he has, and that way that world works.
Yes.
Like. Yeah, Bill Pullman gets so many chances.
Yeah, he's like, I have told you to fuck off.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, in a very like threatening way that was very clear. But no. Like,
I'm not gonna pronounce the guy's name properly, the actor, and I apologize, but his name is Zags Mackay, I want to say, or Mackay. And he plays the role of Dargent Petru. Yeah, and we will discuss him a little bit more as we get through it.
Yes, absolutely. And I was happy as well to see that it had that sort of a reanimator sort of appeal with, as you said, like the resurrection, or in this case, voodoo, taking the voodoo approach, which, as we've discussed before in other podcasts, was the origin of a lot of the zombie myth. And that was the idea of having slave-type people that were zombies created by plant matter or whatever religious practices that they had. Hoodoo and voodoo and all those sort of things.
Voodoo, the hoodoo, what we don't dare do, people. Yeah, cool. All right. Well, on that note, we should probably let's dissect this movie. I reckon. Let's get into it, because
jump in, scalpels blazing.
Actually, like, and we'll reserve our opinion on whether we liked it or not at the very end. But I would say that according to IMDb, so take it with a pinch of salt, if you will, this movie is rated as Wes Craven's 4th best ever feature film.
Oh.
In the making. So interesting that was held up there. And I should probably add that up until this podcast, it was one of those rare movies that I hadn't actually gotten around to watching. So I was coming at it for the first time as well. So I am kind of talking about it from the perspective of only watching the film once before we come into this, as opposed to, you can tell various other times when I've been talking on the podcast that I've watched certain movies time and time again. Yeah. Cool. All right, so let's...
I was even just going to say, on top of that too, the Rotten Tomatoes has it at 64 on the tomato meter. So it's 35 fresh, I think.
Yeah, it's still fresh.
And 56% on the audience score. But yeah, you can even see with the artwork as well, like them lending a lot of the things from Evil Dead, the poster and artworks for that. Which is Ash's sister who gets possessed. The first one has a very similar sort of, even with the cross on the forehead, it being, I think, a torn open scar in the movie of Evil Dead. But just Interesting
Yeah,
stuff that these people tried to borrow from.
yeah, that's right. When they were trying to, the publicity team really were trying to push a lot behind this film, and they were trying to open up, I guess, or appeal to a wider audience outside of the Wes Craven fan base, and they basically sent coffins to like screening, like critics and screening kind of company. And basically, I think from like it had obviously on the words "The Serpent on the Rainbow" on the outside, and I want to say it had something like "I'm not dead" written on it. And then when they open it up, there's a big cardboard cutout of Bill Pullman kind of inside. I think that's kind of cool.
That's great. That's fantastic marketing. It's sort of like the first Jared Leto thing that he did. Used condoms.
Oh, it's all sticky. It's a huge condom. Sorry,
like Bill Pullman.
Lost the plot. Okay, all right. Speaking of the plot, let's dissect this one and have a look at the movie. So, what I will say is, I mean, it's set in Haiti, but what I kind of admired straight off the bat is that they shot predominantly in Haiti anyway. There is some shots of the Dominican Republic, I want to say, or is that right? Or
the Dominican Republic?
Dominican Republic, yeah. So they did shoot some stuff there too, but which kind of gives it that kind of real kind of grounding sense, I guess, of the film's location.
It's a great sort of atmosphere. You can sort of feel the humidity.
That's right, and it's also heavily. They do kind of heavily base it in history, because I think there's a scene in it where a bit later on, and the reason I'm saying this is because it kind of sets the scene of Haiti is kind of known for being a very kind of one of the poorest countries in the world, but also a very kind of heavily kind of violent country. And it was under mass tyranny for a long period of time, from like 1959. There was a guy called Francois Papadoc Duvalier, and you see a poster of him at one point in the movie, alongside his son, who then took over from him in his reign. The son's name was Jean-Claude Baby Doc Duvalier, and they were dictators essentially. So the whole country was kind of living in fear. And it's this fear that kind of rules the country at the time, and the story just taps into it in a massive way. It's this undercurrent of uncertainty that's travels the whole way through it, and we see a point where at one point where the younger dictator getting actually deported. He gets kicked out. So that was around like 1986. So, which would have been like 2 years prior to this film being released.
Yeah, it would have been right in everyone's mind.
Yeah. So very, very, and it was political upheaval and everything that's thrown into the mix. And also because of that, like the Duvaliers were known for having their kind of secret police, known as the Tontons Macu, who basically would just go around terrorizing people essentially, and we get essence of that with that character with the big sideburns dude that keeps cropping up and beating the shit out of Bill Pullman every so often. So it's there's a lot of unrest essentially in this place.
Yeah.
So we kick off with the film, and it's around like 1978, and we get this kind of Haitian man, and his name's Christophe. Christophe, and he's in a small kind of it's like a French kind of missionary clinic, and he dies, and we are seeing it from like point of view of the doctors who kind of do the test. They do with the heart rate. They poke a needle in his eyeball to kind of see if there's any movement in the eye, and things like that before they kind of diagnose him as clinically dead. And then they then kind of we cut to like a voodoo parade kind of march, if you will. And there's what we
carrying the body with the
that's right, with the coffin inside it. And what we presume is the widow kind of following on. We get the weird guy that you were talking about, the dude that was he was essentially kind of like like a kingpin kind of character, essentially. The Darjan Petru.
Oh, the bad guy.
The bad guy, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Smoking in the background, as he does throughout the entire movie.
Yes.
And he, so we see him, and then we see the coffin being lowered into the grave, and the wife or girlfriend kind of go, Christoph!
Weeping and calling Christoph.
And then we cut to inside the coffin, and we see the head of, we're zoomed in on the head figure from the side
Christoph with his
Christoph.
eyes still open and just little beads of light.
Yeah, and then a small tear rolling down his cheek. He's alive. Which so buried alive. But then, but that's all we get to see before we cut to 7 years later.
Boom.
And we meet Harvard anthropologist Dennis Allen, played by Bill Pullman. And he's in the Amazon rainforest, and as I said, he's a botanist. So it's kind of based on a true story, and he's studying kind of rare herbs and medicines and things like that. And he's with a shaman, who gets him to basically wants him to drink this potion, and he's very much like no, that's okay. I'm just here for this. I don't need to blah blah blah. And he then, but the shaman basically says, no, you need to have it. There's something I need you to see. And of which then Bill Pullman kind of takes a very small sip, I have to add. But it's enough for it to take effect.
Does it?
As he then kind of starts having these mass hallucinations. And he sees the Christoph funeral as well. And he's kind of at this bottomless pit with like corpses and what have you around him. And then he kind of comes to, and does that happen at that point or
no? I think that's later on. This is the bit with the
with the
outside.
This is with is it a cheetah
leopard.
or a leopard
Or a jaguar.
That's right. It is a jaguar. That's right.
Yeah, because his spirit
running away from it before going, oh, hey, hi there. I hate you.
Yeah. They start to fight and they're sort of play wrestling.
You're a cute little jaguar.
It rubs his belly.
Yeah, that's right. Rolling around with it. And then we cut to outside and the shaman, or like from the outside perspective, and we see the shaman looking on at Bill Pullman just rolling around on his own.
Nothing.
With
Having a little LSD trip.
Yeah. And the shaman has a little chuckle to himself. Then the wind blows foul.
Ooh. It does. Something goes awry.
Yes. And all of a sudden, when Bill Pullman kind of comes to, and
Damon's put his cloak over his face to shield himself from said wind.
Said wind. Oh, that's a foul wind. Who had that curry? And we, so Bill kind of, calling him Bill, Dennis, he basically comes to reality, but there's no one around. It's Deadsville.
Except for the shaman.
The shaman, who's going, oh, hello.
Is that right? Beneath the blanket. Yeah, but he's hidden beneath the blanket. And then Bill Pullman goes up to him slowly, and he opens up the thing, and I didn't know it at the time, because you said he was in the first scene. I didn't even see him in the first scene. But yes, it's our soon-to-be my favorite character, the bad guy.
Yeah.
Going all mwahaha. I think he's laughing. I don't think he goes wah.
No, he doesn't go mwahaha, but he does go ha ha. No, he doesn't.
Like Nelson over the
yeah,
yeah, that's it.
No, he doesn't do that. But he's having a good chuckle at Dennis's expense. Dennis does a runner, gets back to the helicopter, finds the pilot, goes, "Oh, thank God I found you. I thought you fucked off ages ago. Oh, wait a minute, you're dead." So he has to...
Well, they didn't have maggots on his face. They had mealworms. Now, mealworms is when I worked at the Australian Reptile Park. They were things that you used to feed to lizards and spiders and those sort of things. Not to birds because they get caught in the tiny bit of the beak. Anyway, you can also eat them. They taste like macadamia nuts, but they're very squishy. And when you do put them in your mouth, they're all wriggly-like. So, but yeah, that's what they used. And I saw that and I was like, that's cool because you can sort of buy those in any pet store, like a pet bar. And put them on there. And they sort of look like maggots, but they're not. They wouldn't do the same thing as a maggot.
Right.
I don't think. Yeah.
So out of interest, Richard, have you eaten them? Because you sound like you have.
Yes. Yeah, not like, you don't sit down there on a Sunday night watching, The Price is Right, just like chowing down. But it's one of those sort of things that when you get told that, they go, oh, go on. And then usually the keeper is one who chucks one in there and says it's not that bad. Yeah. And so, you just eat it. And it's sort of like a very creamy macadamia thought.
But you said it's wiggly.
Yeah, it's alive, so you've got to unfortunately kill it by crushing it between your teeth.
Right.
Yeah, it's the unfortunate bit, but yeah.
Does that feel a bit weird? I don't know.
Yes, it does. Extremely weird.
Like to have
having the endoskeleton in your mouth. But if you've ever eaten prawn tails or prawn heads, it's very similar.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Gotcha. Cool. Oh, thanks for that. A little bit of fun facts here on Surgeons.
Yeah, next time you're at the reptile park, ask if you can eat one.
That's nice. I like it a lot.
But yeah, so he's dead in the helicopter.
Yeah, so he's dead.
Which I was at this point going, what the fuck's going on? Is this where we're setting the film, or is this just still his LSD trip?
Yeah, that's right. Because he then goes, yeah, that's right. You are kind of, this is a good point to raise the old chestnut that Wes Craven likes to kind of toy around and play with, and that is what is real, what is fantasy, what is dream.
I like these kinds of chestnuts.
Yeah, and he does it here too. And critics kind of did come out at the end of this going, he's playing with that chestnut again, but you know what? He's playing with it remarkably well today. And that's what I'm saying. The critics were kind of did quite praise this one, and the blurring, one critic anyway, I can't remember who it was off the top of my head, did go on to venture to say it's probably the first time since A Nightmare on Elm Street where he's kind of really played with that field, and you really have no sense of which world you are in, whether it be fantasy, dream, or hallucinogenic in this case. Yeah, and so that's where we are left with Dennis. Dennis roaming through the Amazon jungle to try and fight for his kind of survival, essentially.
I think the last time we see him, he scales down the side of a thing to a road, tries to hail down a car, they speed off. He's less like, it does a lot of overacting as he then you're fine. Yeah, he doesn't treat his knees very well in this film.
No, he really doesn't.
No, especially later on. But yeah, he's fallen all over the shop and heads back into what we assume is the town. Then I think it cross dissolves and he's come back. Yeah,
he's there. He then kind of ends up back in...
he's in an office or something?
Yeah, that's right. He's just outside of... But just before that, I just want to add that it's the leopard, sorry, not leopard, I keep saying leopard, it's the jaguar. That lures him back to his safety, essentially.
Yeah, so they say, but there's just like one stock footage piece in there, so oh, okay, I guess it did. But then someone reinforces it with dialogue, and that's when you know it's true.
Yeah. Oh, no, but he does, because you do see it kind of run off, and he chases after it.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
I thought it was only one sort of quick frame, but...
No. He does. He chases after it up there. He scales up this hill, and eventually that's...
no, you're right. Yes, no, you're right.
On his way out. And it goes, "Oi, Dennis, this way."
Yeah, that's right. Just in that accent, too.
Yeah, that's it. It's like, crazy.
What are you doing in Haiti?
I don't know. Just, thought I'd see the sights like you were, But he's not in Haiti. He's not in Haiti at this point. He's in the Amazon rainforest.
Oh, that's right. He's an Amazonian.
Jumped ahead. Yeah. So he essentially he works his way, as I said, out, and we make our way back to Americano.
America, fuck yeah.
Yeah, fuck America. We're in fucking America.
Fuck America. What you gonna do about it?
And I puffed that out because I was trying to find out where the city was. It's Boston.
Boston.
It's Boston.
Boston.
And he is approached by a pharmaceutical company looking to investigate this drug using
always honorable people, aren't they?
Haitian voodoo. Yeah.
Yeah, always honorable people who are now looking to enlist Haitian voodoo into their
voodoo to create zombies.
Yeah. Having said that, when I heard this plotline, I thought it was a great idea.
Yeah.
Like, I was like,
you do.
In a world where you're like, we can test and prove this stuff. You'd test it, of course you would.
Yeah. That's right.
Even just back to that, like, anti-venom came from the venoms. Like, as in,
that's it. That's it. That's
penicillin. It's a fungus.
Let's eat it and see what happens.
Yeah, well.
No, let's eat it.
Yes.
And what will happen? It'll make us better. Wait a minute, that just made me better.
Making butter.
Making butter. Oh no! I keep hitting. Somebody keeps talking to me online. Sorry, I'm trying to, and I can't mute them.
That's all right. I had the same problem a second ago.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? So I keep hearing the beep. Sorry about that.
No, I can't hear the beeps. I thought you would have heard my beeps. So this is going well. So now the viewers can hear our beeps.
Okay, so where was I?
We're in the office of the pharmaceutical.
So we have the pharmaceutical company. We meet Michael Goff, Alfred from Batman.
That's right.
And other bloke. And they basically kind of say, we want to send you to Haiti. We hear that there is this strange... I don't know. They don't talk like that, but they're basically saying...
Kind of does.
They basically talk about the Christoph character, essentially, from the opening scene, who has appeared 7 years after he's supposed to be dead. And there's
and they show him a picture.
Yeah, it looks nothing like Christoph.
It looks nothing like him.
There we go. Yeah, and that's not him.
I love the skepticism in this movie. It's right on point. It's just like, well, we don't know that yet.
Yeah. So they basically want him to go out and investigate. And that's kind of what he's done. He's basically like Indiana Jones, but in the pharmaceutical drug world.
Yeah. It's kind of like, I always, like, when we were studying Australian history in schools, I always imagined when they said the botanists, and I always imagined them in this sort of like Indiana Jones sense. So yeah, you can sort of see that. Like,
it pretty much is. You know, he's going to explore the unknown essentially, and kind of rule out stuff for the sake of science.
Yeah,
what is truth in it, or is it truth, or is it mythology? Well,
in this universe, it seems, even if it's just the perspective of Bill Pullman that we're saying, there's some truth, at least, to the spirit animal idea. So, one thing hopefully leads to the other, but within there's rules that I'm sure we'll define. Yeah, I was down for it. I was like, let's find these zombies. I want to see if Christoph talks.
Yeah. Does he talk? Does he sing?
Yeah.
He can talk. I can sing.
He just talks in like some sort of propaganda, and it's just like, we have to get rid of the Jews, or it's like, Trump sort of person.
Let's make Haiti great again.
They're zombies. They just come out like Trump supporters. Make Haiti great again.
Yeah, let's wear red caps. I'm totally losing the plot. So he's basically charged to go to find out what's going on. He arrives in Haiti in the middle of the revolution that I was mentioning at the beginning of the podcast. And he's going around kind of basically exploring Haiti, and he's assisted by They're quite delightful. Dr. Marielle Duchamp.
Yeah, he goes out of his way to say that he's surprised. Oh, by the way, let's just mention that the narration by Bill Pullman in this is so annoying.
I just completely forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Every time it comes up, it's just like, oh, we know, we're looking at it.
Do you know what was weird about that, though? Then it does get dropped, doesn't it, at the end? Or doesn't it? Or did I get...
a couple of moments where, yeah, like I'm now thinking there should have been some like narration, but I don't know. Like, yeah, maybe it just sort of disappears in the end. But well, like, there's multiple things in that scene. He's not carrying any bags. Like, where is he staying? What's his stuff? He hasn't got a jacket on. That shirt is way too colorful. Like, the impoverished nature and how worse it is, and he's been to other places. It's just like, why are you just wearing this then? Where is your stuff?
He doesn't need stuff.
He meets the doctor, is it?
Yeah, it's the doctor, yeah. So he's going thinking it's a guy, Dr. Duchamp.
Duchamp.
And she's like, hello, I can lead you to Christophe. You follow me. I don't know, she doesn't say that. But she basically says that Christophe's alive and she's got witness. She was the one that sent the photos. Oh, dodgy. Of Christophe being alive. And Alan's like...
Another woman.
Yes, Alan's like, cool bullshit. And he... for some reason he gets taken into custody at this point, doesn't he? By the Tonton Macoute, which I was explaining earlier.
Doesn't he go and see the female zombie woman, though?
Female... does that happen first?
I think that happens first because then he gets pulled in because he's looking into all of this stuff. Before they go in off the street, he's like, "Ooh, you look hot," and she's just like, "Let's go inside and talk about this."
Let's go inside. I need you to look at this zombie.
Yes.
You're right. That's right. She's and we see female zombie, as you said.
Yes.
Who now is she the girlfriend of Christophe? Female zombie.
I have no idea. I thought she was just another random case of someone who had died and come back later.
I did wonder.
I think she was like years.
There are certain points in this movie where I was like, "Who the fuck is that?"
Exactly.
I got a bit confused in certain pockets, I have to admit. All right. So anyway, but she can't talk. She just kind of stares at Dennis, and he's like, "I don't like this. She's giving me the heebie-jeebies."
And she gets mighty interested in him.
Yeah, she does. You can read his mind. And he's like, all right, well, if she can't talk, does this Christophe guy talk? And that's where the doctor says, yeah, he can talk. I will take you to him. And, excuse me, but they are intercepted by the aforementioned Tonton Macoute. And they are brought forward before the Captain d'Argent Patrouille, the same man that we saw from Christophe's funeral and the vision in the Amazon jungle. And he basically says, "Get the fuck out of Haiti."
Yeah. You American, get out of Haiti. I cut your balls off.
I cut your balls off and I feed them to the cows.
Please.
And he's like, no. Okay, I'm really, really going off the dial. So, but Alan doesn't take heed of this warning. No,
he's an idiot. He's like in there hearing someone getting tortured in the back room, and it's obviously making him uncomfortable.
Yes.
The guy is holding his passport. He's in charge of the police in the area. This is like fucking Africa. It's like Zimbabwe sort of shit. Like, you don't mess with these people.
Don't mess with them. Are you crazy? It's almost like he has a death wish, which is a bit.
It really is.
Yeah.
Like that's the whole time I was thinking he's got to have motivation. Like the bride zombie becomes a thing in his visions, and I was thinking maybe his wife died from like cancer or something, and that's why he is going, oh yeah, I want to improve the science so I can bring her back to life or something like that. Yeah. Why is he? Or he's got a death wish, as I said, just wants to kill himself in the most outlandish, random way.
Yeah, that's right. He's I can't remember the first instance. You just mentioned the bride zombie. I can't remember the first instance where we meet bride zombie. But
No.
I really liked that element.
That was great.
It was freaky, in a good way. So in case I forget to mention her down the track, that's my comment on that.
No, it's great.
Yeah. Okay. So he goes on. He insists on continuing his mission. They meet. At this point, they meet.
The graveyard.
Huh?
This is where they go to the graveyard the first time, isn't it? At
Do they
night.
go to the graveyard first?
But this time it's at night.
Yes, that's right. They do. They go there first, don't they? And this is where they. Excuse me.
You're right.
This is where they are in search of
Christoph.
But there's a bit where he kind of I keep forgetting
Billy Pullman.
Billy. Oh, Bill. He
Bill.
gets spooked by there's a word, and I never really quite could pick it up. But there's something that keeps getting said to him throughout the movie. And it's not get out, but it's something like similar. And this is an instance where we hear it said and he kind of falls over and then falls down into a grave, doesn't he?
Oh, yeah.
But it's like the same thing is said to him on a few occasions. And it's the guy, it's your favourite bad guy. He's the one that's saying the words.
Yeah.
But he gets spooked at this point. And he, as I said, falls into this grave, and the doctor that's with him kind of says, it's okay, they're just grave robbers.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, sure. And then he gets a bit pissed off because he's like, this is bullshit. There is no Christoph, is there? Blah, blah, blah. They have their first Barney. She goes off in a huff, and he chases after her, but then comes face to face with Christoph.
Yay.
And he basically is very scattered kind of guy. He's a bit all over the place, isn't he?
Yeah, he's sort of like very scared, paranoid as all hell.
Yeah.
But pretty with it. Like as far as like zombies go and resurrection goes, I mean, you'd be pretty happy if that was the result.
Yeah. Just you're batshit crazy, but you're all there.
Yeah. Like you can string words together. You can think. Your motor active skills. Now, did he get himself out of the grave?
Yeah, I think that's the thing.
Yeah, they do. Oh, that's right. We saw Bill Pullman do it later on. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think the idea is like they wake up obviously in their coffin, and on a few occasions they break out, and he being one of them, as in Christoph at this point, but believing to have died and then come back again. So that's where his sanity's not all quite there. So that and I'm trying to remember how that scene resolves now. I have no memory of how that kind of comes to its conclusion. I'm just going to blow my nose. Sorry, Richard.
That's okay. Yay.
Oh, gosh. My allergies, they're coming back earlier to work.
Yeah, no, I'm just getting over sickness too, so it's a good thing you're right next to me.
Yeah. Hello. Oh, did I have not used your sleeve, sir? Yeah. So you can have that for later. Desserts. All right. So I can't remember how that ending, how they move or transition from that scene now.
Neither.
But for the sake of going on to what I've got written in my notes here, we then go to where he meets. Now, hold on. I don't want to try.
Oh.
Does he not meet Lucien at some point?
Yeah. When's he meet him? Because he's
I
another.
want to say that's next, because isn't that like the scene? And we may have jumped around a bit, but Lucien, he's kind of like he's a bit like oh my god, my mind has just gone.
You're thinking Indiana Jones, John Rhys Davies?
Oh yeah. I wasn't thinking that, but that is a good kind of analogy. I was actually thinking of Humphrey Bogart in Casablanca.
Oh, yeah.
In the sense that Rick, the Rick kind of character, as in like he owns a bar, he's in the know, and he's got this kind of bit of a swagger about him. But
Yeah.
the difference, obviously, is that he's also a magician, and he's got this kind of gift of using powder and stuff to kind of fool people into believing certain things. But he's a pretty powerful magician. And he's played
go on Fool Us.
Huh?
He could go on Penn and Teller's Fool Us.
He could. He actually could. And he's actually played by Paul.
Paul Winfield.
Paul Winfield, yeah. Who for me was always the lieutenant from Terminator.
I was about to say Terminator.
Yeah, but he was also in Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, and
I love it too. Rotten Tomatoes has also got scores for actors, and his highest is The Terminator with 100%, and his lowest is 27% for Dennis the Menace in 1993.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Dennis the Menace. I remember that one.
Classic with Walter Matthau.
Oh, yeah. He was also in Mars Attacks as the general character.
Oh, yes, of course, sir. That great scene where he gets evaporated.
Yes. And
many high-rated films.
I will have something to say about this actor when we get to a certain scene. For the moment, we'll kind of put a pin in that. But we do get introduced to him. So he's kind of like the person you need to know if you need to know people in Haiti. And there is a bit of a moment where the Doctor then starts dancing seductively.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
Yeah.
But this is, I think, probably before they go to the cemetery.
Yeah, that's what I was just wondering. So forgive me, audiences who are listening to us, if we are jumping around plot-wise.
It's all right. It's my fault too, but blame Sol.
Let's blame me.
Yay. But yes, she starts dancing around, and she didn't want to before, and so we definitely get the sense of possession and it being a common practice. I was quite surprised at how blatant it was, and I was just like, now she's presumably going to be a slut.
Yes, it's like I went to the pub last night, got so totally possessed, man.
That's it. It's a Bill Cosby incident. He just grinds his pills.
Like, have some of this. What's that?
Allegedly.
But interestingly, Weird Dude's there too. Your mate is in the background.
Yeah.
And he does that thing where he taps on the glass and he changes the rhythm of the music.
Yeah.
And it really shakes things up. And I really like that scene because it made
that was great.
It was a very simple thing he did, but it just shifted the tone completely, fucked everyone up.
Yeah, no, exactly. It makes him start going after the girl, I think, to try and kill her.
Yeah.
Bill Pullman has to pull out a sugar glass and smash him on the head.
Yeah, he's like, have some of that sugar.
Yeah, and then just throws him to the side as if that's all it needed.
Yeah.
And I was just like, he's possessed. You don't know if that's going to stop him. We've just all seen Evil Dead.
He's going to come back and come back and come back.
Yep, everything separately is going to come after her.
Yeah, that's it. But not in this case. Oh, dear. All right, so all of that kind of happened before everything else that we just said happened.
Yes.
But now we do get Alan basically kind of meeting up with this guy called Mozart, Louis Mozart, and Louis, and he is kind of a bit of a showman himself. But he's the guy to go to for the stuff. If you want the stuff, he's the guy to go to. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Yeah.
Gonna really make you dead and come back again.
Yeah.
So they go to visit him at his place. He's kind of talking the talk. Bill Pullman's like, I need proof. And he goes, what about this goat?
I'm going to kill a goat for you.
I'm gonna go kill a goat.
Then he does a Bill Cosby.
Yeah, does the Bill Cosby goat.
And goat falls asleep.
And Bill Pullman craftily cuts the goat's hoof.
Yes, to mark it, to make sure that if he switches it, then it's going to obviously be a different goat. Yeah,
that's it. Yeah. And he goes, I will give you the money when I come back and see it after a day to see that it's still alive.
Yeah, I think it was 400 or 500 or whatever.
I think it was 1,000.
There was a lot of haggling. I can't remember how much.
I think it was $1,000.
The grand?
It was $1,000, I think. Yeah, it was like, I'll give you this if you show me that.
Oh, that's right, because it changed later on. Yeah. That's what I mean. There was so much haggling. I can't remember how much money we need to give him now.
How much is it? How much did we say? We said 200.
That's it. Yeah.
No, 1,000. Yeah, 200. Great.
Yeah, 200.
2,000. But basically, like, he believes it's rat poison, and that's what he suspects.
This is in between a whole big chunk too.
Yeah.
Like, as in, like, the first time we see the goat and he marks the foot, and then he leaves. Then the second time when he goes, here's the goat, and he looks at the hoof and he's like, nah, and then he drinks the rat poison.
Yeah, and he drinks the rat poison.
That's fucking rat poison. And that's a big thing of rat poison.
That's a lot of rat poison you just put in your mouth right there, sir.
Yeah, and at this point...
But there is a bit of throwaway there because, you know, like, they're all he's kind of looking at him going, you're crazy, man.
Yeah.
And the doctor's kind of saying, well, you know, that you're going to die. You know, what do you do? But he kind of says, no, I switched it. So what he shows the bottle.
Oh, that's right. He switched it.
Yeah.
For some reason I was thinking the other guy switched. Of course,
so
yes. No, you're right.
He actually drank talcum powder or something instead.
Yeah. Oh.
Tasty.
A good old Lucy.
So he's a craftsman in himself. He's using an old kind of trick, you know, to fool the eyes of people. So that's again the art of illusion and disillusion.
He's using some of his Lone Star charm.
Yeah, he's like, hey, you see it? Now you don't. Hey,
I learned this in the galaxy.
Yeah. So he's playing the dude too. But then they get caught up by the Tom Baku again. And this is where they the bad guy again, Petru basically says, I want you. I told you that didn't want you coming around my house sniffing my stuff. And he goes, there's only one way to resolve this. Quick nail in the scrotum.
That was great. I thought it might have just been another intimidation thing, but I was sort of like, no, he's well, like, within his rights, as in he warned him.
Yes.
Like, as in, you're now in the room that you heard all the screams coming from. So,
yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
So we have the Daniel Craig Casino Royale moment.
Exactly. And just the imagery of that, too, is great. The sweaty, like, uncomfortable position, completely naked, going, wow, that would be terrifying.
For a guy, that is so cringy.
I should assume being naked for anyone would be more intimidating than not being naked in a situation where you're going to get tortured.
Just don't really fancy the nail in the scrotum.
I guess if there was a table there and you had your tits out and you're a woman, maybe. and you saw the nails and the things. But you know, I think regardless, it's just that slightly more intimidating if everything is exposed and able to get to you rather than having to go through a zip or a thing of clothing. Even if it's just a psychological. But and then they fulfill it. You don't see anything, which is again great. But
he's good.
Are terrified.
Yeah, and we basically just dump him with clothes back on now in the middle of a street.
Yeah, he put his undies on because even an R rating couldn't handle a male exposed genitalia at that time in the 80s. But onto the side of the road, and he luckily doesn't bleed out because Dr. Hot picks him up.
Dr. Hot is there. She goes, hey, what are you doing? What are you doing down there in the gutter? Covered in piss blood. But she takes him back under her wing, looks after him, and they start kind of getting a bit.
They do.
Yeah, they go, well, quite like you. And he's like, there's a throwaway line or something like, and when she goes, you shouldn't be overactive or something, and he's like, it's just a screw.
He's just like, it was just a warning. They tried to scare me, and I was like, no, that was the first time. Like the toe. This was the toe bit, dude.
Yeah.
Like,
come on. Wake up, smell the coffee.
Yeah.
So
anyway, they go on this spiritual retreat to where is it? Like, you know?
Oh, and do you know what? I love this scene. It's beautifully shot. It's like it just captures this kind of otherworldly spiritual kind of journey that they go on together and experience together. And you have all these great lamplights that kind of are leading up this kind of hillside essentially. And as there's thousands of these people that are on their own spiritual journey, but as a collective. And yeah, it's just it was one moment where I was watching it just going, this is actually, despite all the confusion, it's almost like Wes Craven had grown up in this film. As I was watching, it was like it's a really solid, it's a solid drama essentially is what he's created. The first time really he's done that, and he's obviously infused it with other components, which we'll come to at the end when we get to the end of the plot line.
Well, I was even going to say, as you established with the climate in Haiti, the political climate in Haiti at the time, obviously being a major focal point for this film, it's obvious that he's cared about it to the point of showing off the places that he's been privileged to film in. And I say privileged, but it was probably a tax write-off, or it was cheaper to do it there the same way, like, James Cameron made Titanic in budget just so he could get the cheaper labor. But like, no, it's I think a comment to seeing a filmmaker, especially in horror, the genre, where you a lot of the time trying out a lot of things along the way, not necessarily from a filmic perspective, but a creative storytelling point of view, but not going, I'm going to look at this shot and tell it this way. So to see these shots where it's actually going this beautiful scenery, encapsulating it with no dialogue, doesn't need to be pushed and driven that way. It's connected on a different level. That's right. And
by just doing that, it just adds that a certain amount of depth to it. I just really appreciated it. And obviously, then this is where he and the Doctor kind of get busy in a waterfall or cave,
as you do when you go to a festival.
In a very just get it on.
In a very Haitian way.
Yeah, and
sorry if that's racist.
What did you just say?
in a Haitian way. That's what I thought you were saying. They're getting it on in a Haitian way.
Yeah. Might cut that. Maybe not. Maybe I'll keep it in there just to keep it real.
That's okay. That's what I thought you said.
So this then turns into a bit of a nightmare thing, though, doesn't it? Is this where he's in some kind of like, it almost looks like the Bora Bora, it's like some kind of, he's by this beach kind of very kind of cool place. And is that right, or am I jumping ahead again? Well, it's where he kind of rolls over and he sees the Christoph's sisters. Oh, that's Christoph's sister, the zombie girl, and she's been decapitated. That's
right. Yeah. In the bed, but he's woken up. That's not a dream, is it?
No, that's not a dream at that point. But it's like But do you know? I'm only knowing that from these notes I've gotten, but I didn't actually know that was Christoph's the girl from earlier. I just was like, no. Who the hell is that? The headed.
I just knew it wasn't the girl, or it was a very poor dummy.
Yeah, that's right. But anyway, so that occurs, and then he then goes to the Tom McHugh walk in, showing photos, and they're basically kind of framing him like they're framing him for the murder of girl, essentially. And then that's where Patron just says, "You have to fucking leave the country."
Yeah.
What do you not understand? And don't come back, or you will be convicted of murder. And Alan's like, "But what about the Doctor?" And he's like, "I won't touch her, I swear."
Yeah.
Bullshit. And he basically puts Alan on a plane, but then Louis turns up.
Yeah, out of the blue, just sort of sits down next to him.
And gives him the zombie drug.
Well, yeah, because he says, I want my money, and he says, I haven't gotten it because they took it all from me. He shows him handcuffs, and he goes, okay, well, I'll give it to you anyway. Just tell them who gave it to you.
Yeah.
But then,
I know.
Then he goes to leave, and he leaves on the food elevator for like that the people are working on. Now, obviously, I guess it's implied that he's smuggled and conned his way into that position.
Yes.
But I took it as in, I feel like he's somehow, they're waiting for him, like, to then take it down. How long has he had this job? I imagined him the whole time as he's got this job running as well as another one. And I imagined him to have a scene where he came in, took off a pizza hat, and he's like, he was just like, now I'm going to do this. Now I'm going to make potions.
Yeah, that's it.
Cool character, but yeah.
Yeah, he's just like the everyman, isn't he? He just does jobs everywhere.
Yeah. You are still alive. Yeah.
I'm part of the service. So then basically, Alan kind of is basically shipped out of there, essentially. But he has the zombie drug that he can take back to the pharmaceutical company. They can do their tests and they kind of analyze it and go, well, wait, fucking does this crazy shit to the brain. And it basically cuts down all the senses, essentially. So it makes you think you're
comatose,
dead. Well, it doesn't make
like
you
paralyzed.
People think, basically that's what it's doing. It paralyzes you.
There's terrifying stories of the people on the operating table where like 2 of the 3 deadening things have set in so that they can't move, they can't whatever, and they're really relaxed, but like they can feel everything.
Yeah, that's right. So it's basically like, so the substance is actually a real substance. It's called tetrodotoxin. Say that again, tetrodotoxin. Oh, dearie me.
Tetrodotoxin.
That's it. Yeah, TTX. Sorry. And it's basically kind of using the toxins from pufferfish, porcupine fish, ocean sunfish, triggerfish that carry this kind of toxin. And kind of some other kind of aquatic animals as well, like the sort of stuff that's found in like blue-ringed octopuses, for example, for Australians. That's the kind of thing that we're looking at, and it basically blocks the passage of sodium ions, which is what the action potential in neurons. So this is what prevents the nervous system from carrying messages within the muscles from contracting in response to nervous stimulation. But from the point of view, so this is a real thing, and this is what was taken from the book that the film's kind of based on. This is what the guy was kind of going out to work out what was going on. Which would be this kind of zombie drug. It was never really, I don't think it's ever really been proven that it does it to the extent that it's been said that people can be brought back from the dead.
No.
And it's been kind of scoffed at, but it has these kind of hallmark signs within it of what it does. And I think they kind of use it, I've got to be careful now that I'm not kind of playing bullshit on our audience now, but I want to say they kind of use it when they when they want to numb a certain area in order to operate on. I think that's kind of what it's commonly used as now. Anyway, if I'm saying that completely wrong and there's an actual doctor out there laughing at me, let me know.
Please tell us, and we can all laugh at him.
Yeah, and we can all laugh at Saul.
Yeah.
And his ridiculous explanation of science. Called Dr. Muerte.
No. I like it. I think it's very cool. I didn't even know that. I'm just looking it up now, and it's very interesting. But even from that, it's same as along those anti-venom lines. I think, what we've always done in science is just trying to get rid of anything that doesn't make sense or isn't useful, and take the things that we can use, and from that we'll build building blocks of life. It's very cool. It's even the same as when Resident Evil tried to do the whole explanation of saying that it was a skin rejuvenating serum or something like that, and so it was revitalizing cells within you. So the telomeres, like one of the things that creates gray hair in people is the telomere things are like the rungs on ladders that are our DNA. And those replicate every, I think it's 7 years, I'm not too sure. But they get shorter after the age of 30, and that's when our body stops being young, technically. It stops replicating things at a young level. So that's when we start to get grey hairs. That's when muscles start to stop developing. They'll still go through their process every 7 years or however long. But you're not going to be able to build as much as you could before the age of 30. So as depressing as that might be, it's part of that is the interesting part about any horror movie where you can add that little bit of science. I think that anyone with two brains is going to turn around and understand that it's a movie, it's fantasy. I'm looking at a horror movie, and so having those little bits of science just adds to the little bit of plausibility that makes you go, oh, cool. It's almost like a nostalgia hit.
Yeah, absolutely. That's right.
Speaking of tetrodotoxin, the toxin, what was it? It would release the serotonin or the dopamine.
Yay! Let's all have drugs. Okay, so
they're all in our body.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's right. All right, so we're slowly getting towards the climax of the film now. So
we're so close.
We're so close. I've almost reached the climax.
So close.
So we're at the kind of a celebratory dinner thing with the two, Albert from Batman and the other dude, and one of their wives, one of their many wives. That's I think it's the other. I think it's the non-Albert dude.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, it's Alfred's wife.
Is it Alfred's wife or is it?
Oh wait, no, I think it's the other one's wife.
Yeah, and they're kind of just having pleasant conversation, and
he gets
Alan's I feel a bit off. Something's not right.
Oh, there's a hand in his soup.
There's a hand. Hey, waiter, there's a hand in my soup.
Yeah, he goes, I put a fly in there.
So they're at the celebratory dinner, and the wife suddenly then becomes massively possessed. Chows down on the glassware.
Before that. Yeah, even way back in the beginning. Sorry, we saw all those different performers doing that. I'm sorry, I didn't even mention that. But the glass eater, someone else was eating something else. But there's performers, especially in India. Penn and Teller, who we mentioned before, are two Las Vegas magicians who do a lot of debunking and stuff like this. But they did a tour through India of all of the ancient and old magic in Egypt and in India, because there's a hieroglyph in an Egyptian tomb that's supposed to be of people juggling, but when you look at it, it could be many things. So they don't think that it's that. But they went there and saw that. But they were in India, and they saw a whole bunch of sideshow performers eating glass, eating nails, and eating bricks, and all of these sort of things. And they would be actually doing this stuff. And it's astonishing. There's some video footage of it, and their teeth are awful, but they're not broken. They're and actually digesting this stuff. Darren Brown does the glass eating, and it's actually possible because you've got to grind it down to a certain point. So they're just like granules pretty much.
Yes.
But it's, I don't know. I'm sure that there's other elements to the art, as in with sword swallowing. Yes, you're still swallowing swords, but there's certain precautions and things you've got to know about it before you do it. But when she started doing it, it's such an, off-putting thing when you see it. It's the same as when someone puts tinfoil in their mouth or bites into ice. We all just instinctively go, oh no. So when she does it, I thought that was a great shattering of that sort of it raised the stakes a lot in that scene.
It did.
It wasn't just a possession of this high-class dinner. It was her now eating her own glassware. It was whoa.
Yeah, it was a really disturbing moment, and it was kind of out of left field too, because up to that point everything's very much from Alan's perspective, but then to have this other character suddenly possessed, and then having this kind of fit, and the guy, the husband's just she's having one of her epileptic fits. So then even when he says that, you're like, oh, hold on, so is she possessed or is she actually having a fit? What's going on? But it's enough for Alan, old Billy, to go, I'm getting out of here. I'm going to go Haiti.
Billy, don't be a hero. Don't be a fool with your life. Ba-da-da-ba-ba-da-da.
I'm holding on for a hero till the morning comes. Anyway, so he runs off, gets on a plane to Haiti, where he is then greeted by some kind of strange individuals who bungle him off. And then we and he's like, oh fuck, I've been collared again. But before he realizes it's not who he thinks it is, it's our friend Lucien. It's Paul Williams. He's like, what are you doing back here? What have I got to do for you, my brother? And so he basically kind of shepherds him away, and he says, like, if you're going to go in, you've got to go armed, mate. All right?
Mm-hmm.
We're dealing with somebody who's very powerful. I'm going to help you. I'm going to put a big red cross on your forehead. And I'm going to get you to carry these rosary beads.
Yeah.
And then everything's going to be well. And then he does basically say this line of, like, we all die sometimes, or something like that. Before he then starts to choke.
That's right. That's what he just dies. He goes to walk away, and then he just starts going.
He falls on the floor, coughs up.
Our favorite bad guy starts just killing people and possessing people left, right, and center. Oh, he's so great.
Yeah.
Why didn't J.K. Rowling see this film before she wrote the Harry Potter endings? Like, as in, there's so much she could have put in.
Yeah. Could have really...
Mind magic. This is how it's done.
So our Lucien character dies. Not without, and this is the bit where I prefaced earlier about when I said something about this character, the actor, is he does the whole, and not many people can do this, and this is definitely him doing it. This isn't any like CGI effects. It's not any practical effects, but he does this thing where he pops his eyeball out and back in again.
I was going to say, I thought it was some really nifty, what was it, cross dissolve, or if you know, what's it called? Double exposure. I thought it was double exposure.
Right.
And just a tracking that was rotoscoped for a couple of frames. Right. But he does that, does he? Because that was.
I could be making that up, but to me it looked like that. There was a moment where I looked at it and went, I think he's doing that for real. Where he's, like some people can actually do that.
Yeah. Well, it would make sense because it bordered on that area of going. It wasn't too much to think it was a prosthetic or anything.
Yeah,
it was right. It oversold that death to the point of not Total Recall, but to another satisfying moment where you're like, oh, I like that character. Oh no, I don't want him to explode.
No, don't die.
It's a Gaviscon.
Yes, it's like 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
Yes.
So like, Lucien's dead. In body, at least. And then
a guy jumps out.
And then the guy jumps out and goes, "Here, have some powder." Blows it into Bill Pullman's face, and it's like,
some guy blows in Bill Pullman's face.
Blows it away.
And it gets in his eyes.
Yeah, it gets in his eyes. Oh no, not my eyes.
That's the worst part.
And that's when he's like, "Yeah, I'm fucked now."
Yeah.
He scrambles out into the village, going, "Help me. I've been poisoned. I've been poisoned."
And again, terrible to his knees.
Yeah. He'll scrape them up, I tell you.
Yeah, he's going to get some Osgood Schlatters.
He will. And basically, he then kind of obviously goes. Well, this is where he's had the drug kind of into his body, so he goes under the appearance of being dead. So he gets taken to the hospital. And they're basically like, he's dead. And this is where we get the creepy dude again.
Yeah, our favorite bad guy.
Pokes his head into the shot. Goes, "I will take it from here." Yeah. And basically, takes the guy away. Do they do anything before they bury him? Just trying to...
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. Does he? I imagine at this point he was going to like hang, draw, and quarter him, and have everything like hung up to different things, like a whole Saw film. Yeah. But does he do anything to him? I assume he does.
I can't remember. But
what he should have done was embalm him.
Yeah.
If you took all of his blood out and replaced it with embalming fluid, that would kill. That would be awful.
That's how you kill Bill.
Yeah. Nice segue.
Anyway, but basically he gets buried. He's put in a coffin. The lid's off at the moment, and he does his whole kind of the Petru character kind of whispers sweet nothings into Bill's ear before giving him a pet tarantula to play with.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and then they bury him alive, essentially.
Yeah.
To keep him company. And
that was a tarantula.
Yeah.
And so the interesting thing about a lot of tarantulas is as well that like their like bite isn't bad. Like it'll hurt, but it's all about the hairs with that thing. So it would have gotten in that coffin and started shaking its leg hairs that would have gone in his eyes, and as he's breathing in, it would have, I don't know, though it would have inflamed. I don't know how zombies work, but I'm assuming our defense mechanisms would still kick in. So what a lot of the time people used to do was get red knee tarantulas and shake them in people's faces and stuff like this to make them like puff up in the face. Like if you got those hairs on your skin, you get a terrible rash that would like puff the skin up a lot. And that was the major defense for like tarantulas. Their bite isn't really that bad, like unless you're a bird or you're a small insect, like or a lizard or something like that.
So with the hair thing, that would be interesting if Bill Pullman then came out kind of completely inflated.
Or at least just. But also, he probably would have been missing parts of his lips and his nose because that looked like it was a sealed-in coffin. And even if not, the earth was all around it, and that thing's not going to. It's going to learn quickly that it won't be able to dig out there very quickly.
No.
So it would have used him as a food and water source. You would have come out with probably no eyelids or something like this.
Yeah. But it's not a very. My understanding is it's not a long time that he's in there. It's
now, because the first zombies were in there for a couple of years. They were in there for like 7 or 8 years.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's why I assumed that was what the hibernation period was for a zombie. But is this a couple of months or is it a couple of days?
No, it's not even that. It's the same day.
Because, Jesus.
Yeah, because it's just nighttime rather than daytime. So he would have just been in there for a couple of hours, essentially.
That sucks a bit of the realism out of it, doesn't it?
Yeah. Because he's rescued by Christoph.
Oh, that's right. Christoph breaks him.
Our undead friend.
Yay!
Comes to the rescue. And,
he reminds me of that, like the zombie guy out of Hocus Pocus, the one who can't speak because his mouth's sewn up.
Yeah. So we have a zombie rescuing a zombie, essentially.
Yeah. By the way, when he was in the coffin and there was that sort of like long, dark silence that it goes to the moon, I thought it should have ended there. I would have been very happy if it would have ended there.
End of the film there.
Yeah. I was hoping that, like, when he came back, I was sort of like, again, this guy's giving you too much warning. You know? I thought that it was going to end with the idea of did he return as a zombie or, like, was it just he was forever underneath the earth, paralyzed? I like that.
That was a really cool ending. Yeah, I like where your head's going with that, actually. Yeah.
But I like those sort of open-ended ones.
But I do too. That's why we get along.
Exactly.
Yeah. But that isn't the ending. We have him rescued, and this is where he... we have that climax, essentially. He basically goes back to... I want to say it's the headquarters of the Tonton Maku, but not before he's like roaming around the streets first. And we have as I said, this is where we get the announcement of the dictator being kind of kicked out. Jean-Claude Duvalier. And so all the locals are going crazy, happy crazy. Because the dictatorship is no more. And so he's kind of fighting his way back. But this is also a bit of a turning point where the power of good is becoming, I guess, overturning. So all that kind of oppression that's been basically part of our bad guy's power, essentially, that he was feeding off in order to kind of, have, be able to be in the position he's in. Excuse me. And so, so this is the veil has been kind of lifted, I guess. So he basically Alan kind of breaks into the headquarters, and this is also where Doctor is about to get beheaded as well.
That's right. Yeah, we see that.
There is a time pressure moment, but then Alan kind of basically breaks into the headquarters, as I said, makes his way through various there's points where he's walking through, and there's the long arms thing. Is that happening through the?
Oh yes.
Through the prison kind of scene. So it kind of reminded me of Freddy in Nightmare
it was very
long arms.
Nightmare on Elm Street stuff.
Yeah. And so there's that kind of stuff going on. There's lots of weird shit happening at this point. And he's being put through a lot of tests. He gets chased down a corridor by the chair that he was forced to be imprisoned in, where he got his scrotum nailed.
That's right.
And various things like that, essentially. But essentially, like, these are all like tests, and he eventually gets to where Petru is, and they have their kind of final confrontation.
Yeah. A fisticuffs match.
Yeah, fisticuffs. All right, I've got handbags at 20 paces moment.
Yeah. It's strange, too, to think that a zombie can go up against a human.
Yes, this is it. And then, so they have their kind of fight, but this is where they kind of inadvertently discovered that these jars that the Petru character keeps, which he claims is where all the souls of the people that he's killed, when they're smashed, the souls are released. And this projectile of light. So then Bill Pullman then goes on a rampage for smashing all these bits and pieces of these jars, and these souls kind of, and they basically kind of grab the Petru character, but not before the Lucian jar is broken, and he's a powerful soul. And then he's kind of, we get that image of the Jaguar kind of
That's right.
coming out of Bill Pullman, and this is like giving him this new energy, this new life. And he kind of, is it here that he kind of, am I right in remembering that it's almost like telekinesis or something at this point? Or is that later? Oh no, that's later. But anyway, so the body of the Petru character is kind of whisked away, and he kind of explodes into ash, essentially. Yeah. And everything's well. And they make
the Jaguar moment was very much like, what was it?
Brave Star.
I was going to even say the Heretic. What was it? Exorcist 2.
Oh yeah.
James L. Jones had the tiger or the leopard or the.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
You did that, and it just didn't work.
No.
It worked here though.
It did work here. I liked it here, I have to admit. Yeah, I do agree with that.
Yeah, same.
So all seems well. He's kind of with the doctor as they kind of make their way out, but not before one last moment where all of a sudden he's in a room on his own, and the Petru character comes back and they have a bit of another fight. But this is where the telekinesis moment happens, when he pins Petru down onto the chair, and
that's right.
The nail comes out of nowhere. He uses the power of his mind to hammer the nail into Petru's scrotum, as he's then pulled away again and destroyed for good.
Yeah. Now you bring that up.
Yeah.
It does raise a whole bunch of questions.
Yeah.
So maybe I need to rewatch this and think, at what point does Bill Pullman die? Maybe he does. Maybe he's in the coffin and that's where he actually dies. There's no voodoo thing. It's just a terrible political guy.
Yeah.
And all of this is an illusion in their head.
It's weird, isn't it? But then the Petru character, it's kind of insinuating that Petru's basically dragged to hell. And then we have all the Haitian people are celebrating outside.
Yay.
And Marielle, I think the doctor basically says the nightmare is over. And that's when it ends.
And then it just ends.
Yeah.
Straight away ends.
That's it. Done.
Yeah, they walk out of that building thing, out into the sunlight. There's everyone walking around, and then it ends.
Yeah, that's it. It's just done.
It's just done.
Yeah.
Could have done that in the grave.
You're right. I like where you're going with it, though. I like the idea of what if none of this actually happened at the end.
Well, especially just because you said the nail comes out and he has that telekinesis battle, and it's just like, Christoph didn't have any telekinesis.
No, he didn't.
The woman in the prison, and I'm down for thinking, as you said, Lucian was a powerful spirit, as in, so maybe he has more powers. Maybe Bill Pullman has more powers, but he hasn't, even Harry Potter progressed a little bit, ever so slightly. But we need to see. Yeah, there's been no evidence of this, and is that supposed to be? It seems more of a symbol in that moment of him defeating him. So
it is very.
I don't know. Also, him, and he doesn't move like a zombie. He didn't move like Christoph moved.
No,
he seems to be the poster zombie. Poster child zombie.
There are young baby zombies out there going, one day I'll be like Bill Pullman.
Exactly. They saw The Last Jedi and they went, oh, so anyone can be a zombie.
Oh, right. Makes sense.
Yeah, instead of metachlorians, it's tetrodotoxin.
Yeah, that's it. Cool. All right. So look, that's the end of the film. Before we cast our judgment on it, just a couple of things. I'm just going to quickly check my notes to make sure if I've missed anything else out. Only that I guess that during this shoot, the US production crew, they were actually the first US production crew to shoot a picture in Haiti.
Oh, cool.
So they weren't very welcome. Really? In a lot of unrest. And the co-author of the script, a guy called Adam Rodman, he in the throes of kind of going a bit method in his writing, he went to see a voodoo practitioner, and he started having some weird kind of experiences after the fact, and he actually physically couldn't write anything. Like he couldn't actually I'm not talking writer's block. He actually couldn't write anymore.
Physically with his hands.
And so he had to leave. And for about 4 days afterwards was having some severe after effects. And he was in a good way. And as I said, they also went to the Dominic. I can never say that word.
Dominican.
Thank you. Dominican Republic. I can say it once somebody says it to me.
Yes. The Dominic Republic.
The Dominic's Republic of potatoes.
They have pizzas, don't they? Dominic's,
yeah. Dominic's pizzas. They're just dodgy.
Dominican pizza.
But they were not allowed to leave the country because they were being sued by allegedly by some of the local production crews who said they hadn't been paid or something. There was like an argument over their salary. And there was a law in the Dominican Republic where no matter what, it doesn't matter what law, law it is. If there's currently a case against you, you're not allowed to leave the country. So they were kind of held there. So even though it was just about pay, they weren't allowed to leave. At some point, obviously, it got resolved and they did leave. So those are kind of a couple of interesting things I kind of threw in the mix. The other thing that I just would add to, obviously, there are kind of lots of comments again, like same kind of thing where Wes Craven did shoot this film. It didn't get great reviews, so they basically told him to reshoot some horror stuff into it again to kind of infuse it. So it's one of those things, and he kind of regrets doing it from what I read. And he said it's one of those moments where you wish you just left it and just gone, yeah, fuck it, you don't like it. Yeah, moment. But we did get the end result that we saw. So on that note, what was your thoughts, man? Did you like it? Did you dig it?
Yeah, well, I came into it not knowing anything and then surprised to see Bill Pullman. So from the get-go, I was sort of, a bit excited. I really liked the first scene with the crying eye and then ending on that. I thought that was a very beautiful sort of opening that intrigued me. From there, I was like, I didn't know whether to expect an art house film. I wasn't surprised. I wasn't expecting it to be all set in Haiti. Surprised to see so many familiar faces in the beginning.
Yeah, same.
Which was great, and comforting. I don't want to say that, it's always terrible to say, but if there's a budget, there's a little bit of comfort, But then the subject matter was interesting. There was it felt like it could have, I don't want to say it could have been better because it was great, but it feels like needed a little bit more time in maybe a writer's room or something like that just could have made the story a bit more punchy.
Yes.
Because it seemed very drawn out in some stages. That's why when it got to the coffin bit, I was sort of like, yeah, if it ends there, I'm happy. I'm really happy. But yeah, no, I really enjoyed it, even if it was just purely for that bad guy.
Yeah, you did really do him, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. I don't know what was about it, but
it was incredibly sinister though. Like he was able to just pull off that real sinister look.
Yes,
really eerie to put you off.
It wasn't also just a terrifying dictatory sort of vibe. It was kind of reasonable because you were going, there is no choice but to deal with this guy. So, like that's why I like the fact that he gave him options. As blunt as they were, it could have been a lot worse. And like I remember when I was in Africa in 1997 or 1996, I'm not sure, 1997 I think it was, and that was around the time of the independence shift and stuff like that. So it was a very scary time.
It
was a similar sort of thing of like you would see a lot of intimidating sort of pictures like that and stuff like that around the time of dictatorship type things, and you don't know what's going on and people yelling in the streets. But then to see someone so calm, comfortable in his position, but also to have a foreboding for like, leave now because I'm trying to fix this. Like his political agenda, he believed what his political agenda was going to do, and he was going to achieve that. Like a lot of those Cubans type of things, like dictators and stuff like this, will take extreme methods and do that purely because they think that it's the best way. They're trying to do a Thanos. They're I don't know, maybe I'm giving them too much, but I endow a lot of villains. I've played a lot of villains and stuff like that. So to see humility in those moments with characters like him, like even in that last scene, bringing him down to that final showdown and going, now I'm going to kill you, but it's going to be hand on hand. It's not going to be nailing you to a board or anything. I was waiting for him to do another thing like that. I thought he was going to be skinned alive or something.
Yeah. Sure.
But a lot of fun. I enjoy it, and I think I'd recommend it, but it would be on that sort of thing of going, like, you need to find an in. Oh, you like Spaceballs? This. You like Wes Craven? This. You like Voodoo Myth? This. Like, but maybe it might be a bit much for someone who's not. I don't know. No, I still think that most people would go, well, it's an 80s film. It has an 80s film vibe.
Exactly, it does. It definitely has that too. So
it reminds me actually a lot of was it Romancing the Stone?
Yeah, totally. Has elements of that, especially even Pullman's attire has got a very similar kind of vibe to Douglas's.
Yes.
Oh no,
very much so.
Oops, sorry about that. So that was all cool. But I have to say I really dug it too. I actually enjoyed it. I also, as I said at the beginning, I came into it not knowing a lot about it other than it was well received, which got me a bit intrigued because it was one I wasn't really familiar with until I was compiling the movies that we would be kind of talking about. And then as I read a bit about it, I was like, oh, okay, so it might be. Oh, sorry, I kind of tried to, like I do with most films I watch, I try and come in with as little info as I can so I can have it as fresh as possible in my mind. And I remember like within the first couple of scenes when I was watching it, I was like, oh, okay, this is definitely a different feel to what I was expecting. And I did. I came out watching it. I came out liking it. And I would watch it again, I think. Off the back of that. So would you, I'll ask this as I always do, would you recommend it to anyone out there who hasn't seen it before?
Yeah, I would. I think that if you get us far enough into a conversation that you end up bringing this film up, then I think it's definitely something that people would take something away from that they would enjoy more than they would like not like it for its how it's aged or performances or anything like that. Again, like I compare it to The Exorcist 2. Why watch that when you can watch a better story, better performances, and better execution?
100%. Cool,
Yeah.
man. Well, I think on that note, we'll bow out on our discussions on the Serpent and the Rainbow. And really highly recommend it. If you haven't caught it and it's one of those ones that you kind of keep putting aside like I did, do yourself a favor and check it out because it is pretty good. It's got some solid performances in there too. And well worth the watch.
She's great. I'm trying to remember her name.
The
female lead.
Yeah, Kathy Tyson.
Kathy Tyson is great.
Yeah. She's really good. Like all of them are really, really good in this. I don't know. Oh, that's where I've seen her before. She was in Mona Lisa.
Ah.
Of course. You know, it's the Neil Jordan film with Michael Caine and Bob Hoskins.
Oh, yes. Really?
Yeah. She's the female lead in that too. That's why I knew her. Oh,
That's amazing.
I only just realised I was just looking at on the IMDb. That's what I went. Oh, okay. No, how I knew you before. Yeah, she's good. And as I said, a lot of great performances throughout it actually, and that kind of lends that believability to it, which was really cool. So check it out. Until next time, obviously do stick around. I think we're about halfway through our Wes Craven discussions for the Nightmare Years, or at least we're tipping into the latter end of those discussions. But do stick around for more of our journey into his films. And I think the next directed film that we will be looking at of his will be The People Under the Stairs. So stick around for that.
Also known as the Harry Potter series.
Woo! And until then, I am your host, as always, Saul Murty, and I was joined by Richard Lovegrove.
Fare thee well, good viewers and listeners.
All right, I love you. Bye.
Bye.
You're listening to the Surgeons of Horror podcast. Music supplied by Peter Nezik. For more discussions or podcasts, head over to surgeonsofhorror.com or head over to our Facebook and Twitter sites for the latest news and updates.